Breaking today, Buckingham Palace have appeared to confirm the worst about the King's cancer prognosis. His aides have issued an update to the Daily Mirror after his successful visit to Canada. We'll get analysis and reaction from Lady Colin Campbell, who has been first on this story, in just one moment. But first, let me take you through the Mirror's reporting. King Charles is celebrating completing a list of firsts following his visit to Canada and is now focusing on the next stage of his reign, senior palace sources have revealed. The king is now, and this is the key line, quote, used to living with cancer while he continues his weekly treatment for the disease. Encouragingly, senior aides say he is feeling well and up to the task as he continues his pathway. The source added, the thing you learn about this illness is that you just manage it. And that's what he does. Medical science has made incredible advances, and I genuinely see no difference in him. As long as you just do what the doctors say, just live your life as normal as possible, and that's exactly what he's doing. It's no secret that he is still having treatment, but because he is incredibly fit, he is just dealing with it all incredibly well. The Royal News Network posted in response to that update, King Charles is now used to living with cancer. That's a good update, but also a reflection on the fact that he isn't cancer-free and seemingly never will be. Prince Harry hinted as much during that disgraceful BBC interview. Watch.
Fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile.
Lady Colin Campbell, you've obviously covered this story first, but in a very sensitive way. Can I just ask an important question, though, given this is our head of state? Is King Charles's cancer terminal?
And no, it's, I think we've actually spoken about this privately, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
And of course, we're being discreet. It's not terminal. It is, however, not curable. And it is, I'm choosing my words very carefully.
Yes, and I understand.
He can live with it, but he will have to live with it. He may not die of it. He may die of something else. But it's not curable, as I have said all along, and we've spoken about this privately. But it's manageable, and there's no, the primary cancer is oh God, how to think of it. The primary cancer is one thing, but the secondary cancer, which would be more frightening if it were a primary cancer, is actually also very manageable.
Okay.
So he has two separate types. I don't know what word to use. I'm sorry, but anyway, we're dealing with two different balls in the same court. Let's put it that way, to be discreet, and neither one of which is terminal, nor is fatal, and he could live with this, according to the information I've been given. He could live with this for some considerable length of time, and one hopes he does. I mean, you don't know, it. Doctors don't like to put time limits on things, but he could live with this for years, as long as he remains responsive to the treatments. And also, there are so many advances being made every day in cancer treatments. that the hope is that should he cease being responsive to one thing, they would be able to switch him to something else that he would be responsive to. In much the same way that, remember the young lady who was with Catherine at the Royal Marsden, Rebecca Mendelssohn. Well, Rebecca's mother's a childhood friend of mine, and Rebecca has a cancer which is incurable, and you know, she is on a wonderful experimental, basically, treatment. So, and I use that, I'm not validating her privacy because I think it's quite well known, but it is the advances that have been made recently and continue to be made will keep somebody like Rebecca alive much longer than she should be alive, in the old-fashioned terminology, and certainly will keep Charles, because Charles's cancers are also less pernicious, for want of a better word, than, say, Rebecca's were. So, and Rebecca is doing pretty well. And so I hope that's the comparable. If I mean, I'm dancing around.
No, I understand what you're saying, and of course this is sensible. So if you look at this official briefing via Buckingham Palace to the Mirror, there's talk of a new phase of his reign. Presumably that means more of these short sort of trips to Canada, because everything he does then, Lady C, is still going to have to be centered around being able to continue his cancer treatment, because it doesn't sound like that treatment is going to end.
It's not going to end. And you're absolutely right. And he can't make long trips because of Dan, I'm sorry. I'm groping for them. One form of cancer requires that he be present at a particular place at a particular time for a particular sort of treatment, and therefore, I mean, I don't want to say more because
No. I totally understand. And do you buy this briefing from Buckingham Palace? Because look, all I will say, Lady C, is we know that over the years there has been a lot of misleading briefing that has come from within the palaces when it comes to the health of principles of members of the royal family. It's not something that they like to draw attention to. But do you believe this briefing from his aides where they say that they can't even notice any difference in Charles and that he's sort of completely used to this now? Because if you see him visually, let's just be frank, he has aged considerably.
Yes, he has, but he is batting 80.
Yes.
Let's remember.
Yes.
So he was always going to age. And, you know, age is exponential. You sort of drop off the cliff. One day you look 72 when you're 86, and the next day you look 94 before you're 90. So he does look older, and he's always been in top shape. I mean, he's
always focused on his health, and I guess that's paying dividends now, isn't it?
Absolutely, but also with his father. I mean, his father lived for years with
cancer,
you know,
with various forms of cancer.
Yeah, and look at how long he lasted, and the treatments weren't as effective or as sophisticated then as they are now. And he's fit. He's of course he's aging, and he's aging visibly, and he would be aging visibly even if he were not being treated. But I would I would put it this way. Some of the treatment that he is given would also enhance his performance and his ability to
I see.
perform.
I see. And actually, we saw that with the late Queen Elizabeth II too, with her treatment. Sometimes there would be specific blood transfusions, for example, that she would have before a major event. I'm thinking about the Platinum Jubilee. And actually, it gave her a real boost and a real bounce. So it is incredible the types of things medical technology can do. Well, look, I think that's good. I think it's an honest update. I think it's good that they gave this update because, of course, he is our head of state. I think the days of total secrecy of private health matters are over, and I think he's actually getting the balance right in terms of being open about the reality of this situation while conducting some incredible work. And it was really incredible in Canada this week, Lady C. But how despicable was it that Prince Harry attempted to hijack Charles's visit by traveling to China to give this speech yet again, complaining about how difficult his life is and what challenges he has, no doubt being paid for it. I mean, this was what he said on stage, Lady C. Challenges will undoubtedly rise, but if there's one thing I've learned in my life, it's that meaningful change never comes easy. The true measure of our commitment is how we respond when the path becomes difficult. We must never give up. Ironically, though, he didn't actually overshadow Charles's speech to the Canadian Parliament. He certainly tried, though.
Well, he did try, and I mean, his speech was absolutely hypocritical and pompous and, quite frankly, ludicrous. Because I mean, this is a man who is in China, not only trying to steal his father's thunder as much as he can, but mouthing platitudes and hypocrisies, which couldn't be more self-evident, because there he is saying that, we need to be responsible and every journey matters and all of that rubbish. When he and the danger the world is in as a result of traveling, and every trip he or his wife takes is more than what 200 people would take commercially. The hypocrisy is beyond belief. And also, of course, I think he's shown as a result of this travelist trip to China that he really is extremely second-rate and worthy of being ignored. Because the fact of the matter is he did not overshadow his father in the slightest. And his father was in Canada for a very important message, which was that the sovereign state of Canada is going to remain sovereign and is not going to become the 51st state of the United States. Not, of course, Dan, as you and I will know, that nobody has seriously ever thought that Canada was in danger of becoming the 51st state of America. But, because
President Trump is having some fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And also he's a chess player and he's playing chess. And he throws the ball in this direction when he really intends to grab something from that direction. And people don't really get it. And I can well understand why, if you were Canadian, you were going to be upset about it. But I mean, Charles was there for an extremely important thing, which was to affirm the sovereignty and the independence of the state of Canada, which is precisely what he has done. And I'm delighted to see that the mainstream media actually, for once, understood that they shouldn't be sucking up to bloody Harry and silly Meghan when something as important as that was on the agenda. What do you think?
Well, I do. I have to just tell you, though, I liked Michael Deacon in the Daily Telegraph this morning on this issue, Lady C. He said, Prince Harry has just done something so dim, I'm almost starting to like him after so many negative headlines. You'd think the Duke of Sussex would be able to see a media attack coming a mile off, but you would be wrong. And this is, of course, pointing to the fact, Lady C, that he flew 6,500 miles to give this talk about how terrible flying is. And I think you are right. I mean, Michael Deacon sums up by saying, poor chap. He's clearly in need of a good advisor. If you're reading this, Your Highness, I'd be happy to offer my services. Shall I hop on the next flight to LA? But if you're to believe the reporting, Lady C, they now apparently have a new royal court around them in Montecito with this huge number of staff for people who've worked for the likes of Bill Gates. I do note as well, very white. I thought Meghan cared about the whole DEI diversity thing, but every single one of these staff members is white, Lady C. But first, don't eat breakfast until you learn about caloric bypass. Your breakfast is setting you up for the entire day to either gain weight or lose it. The term breakfast literally means to break your fast that you started the night before. About 4 hours after you eat dinner, your body switches from the nutrients we get from food to the stored glycogen we have in our bodies. Once glycogen stores are depleted, typically after about 8 to 12 hours, by the way, of fasting, the body shifts to burning fat or energy. Fatty acids are released from fat stores where they're converted into ketone bodies. That's a process called ketogenesis. So then, when you eat breakfast in the morning, the body starts the cycle again. So this is where the caloric bypass comes into play. Dr. Gundry, brilliant heart surgeon in California, learned that if you break your nightly fast with something called MCTs, that's media-trained triglycerides, you can actually keep burning fat throughout the day and use it for energy. But there are specific types of foods that contain these MCTs. So using this breakfast breakthrough, he was able to lose, can you believe, 70 pounds? 70 pounds just through diet. And check this out, he did it in his 60s. So you can find out all about it and his exact method by going to thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. That's thehealthyfat.com/outspoken, or click on the link in the description box below. It is important that everyone remembers that your body processes fat differently. So it all depends on your unique metabolic type, which is why in the video he's released for my amazing Outspoken viewers, he talks all about that. It's fascinating, let me tell you. It might actually change the way you think about your health. So go to thehealthyfat.com/outspoken, or just click on the link in the description box below, or if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, the QR code on screen right now. But now, back to the show.
Well, that means that Meghan is going to be very comfortable. Because remember, Meghan spent most of her life passing for white.
Yes.
So it's nice for her to feel cozy and comfortable. And she doesn't need to bother with any of the other lot, because she's now back to being a white woman. And I mean, I think the whole thing is farcical. I also think, actually, that you should always employ people not on the color of their skin or their sex or any of that rubbish. You should employ people for their ability, and whoever is the most effective and able person should be employed. Of course, let's see how long any of those people last, because nobody ever lasts any length of time with Harry and Meghan. And you know, also, I'm sure you've heard, Dan, that Harry and Meghan are having serious financial concerns. So, I mean, this is like the last throw of the dice. And it's really interesting to see where they think the funding is going to come from. Maybe Meghan will get funding in her post-divorce memoir and her post-divorce confessions. Oh, Ted, darling, I'm so glad that you've allowed me to confess what a beastly life I had, and how you know, the things they made me do. It was just unbelievable. You have no idea all the stuff that I had to endure and put up with. Oh, it was awful. And it will be a money spinner, but I don't think Harry's going to benefit from that.
No, he's
but
not.
But Meghan better be careful, because if she has that money spinner before the ink is dry on the divorce she's going to have to pay Harry child support and community property splits, because Harry will most likely get at least partial custody of his children. Oh, there was Meghan at the Cirque du Soleil when she was so grief-stricken. Did you do flash up the picture again?
Oh, yes, she was sobbing, wasn't she?
Totally grief-stricken and tears pouring out of her eyes. And as you can see in that photograph, she was so grief-stricken, she looked like a Cheshire cat.
Exactly. Now, Lady C, can we please talk about Meghan Markle's latest social media shame? So, firstly, she posted a whole load of vegetables that she claimed were grown in her own garden. However, super sleuths online quickly worked out that can't be the case because some of them aren't in season. Oh, there she said, the unofficial quality inspector of this morning's garden haul. But Lady C, and you know I'm not one to really talk about these types of things, but I'll leave it to you. But a lot of people, Lady C, most taken by Meghan's feet, the state of her feet, and just quite surprising that she's decided to go public in this way, Lady C.
Well, I mean, you can't help if you have ugly feet. And, you know, you can't help if you wear size 11 shoes. And she's done her utmost to chop off the disfigurement on her feet. But this is a woman who actually doesn't have sufficient insight into what she lacks. So she shows her feet, even though most people who have an awareness of beauty and presentation would not show their least attractive qualities, or their least attractive failings would be a better way of putting it. But Meghan, she dresses as if she were Catherine, you know, with Catherine's height and Catherine's figure, and always ends up looking like something the cat dragged in. And it's a lack of insight. She can't see herself as others see her. And so I'm not surprised that she shows her ugly feet.
Well, I guess she,
You know,
exactly, because she doesn't realize
how.
how.
We can't blame her for having ugly feet, but we can certainly blame her for showing them.
Yes.
I mean,
and also today, Lady C, Meghan's neighbours not happy again in Montecito. Look at this headline in the Mail. Meghan doesn't play the community game and never tried to fit in at Montecito, says her disgruntled neighbour, but charming Harry is more at ease. Let me take you through the story. An elderly neighbour allegedly knocked at Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's Montecito mansion to personally hand over a documentary on the area to the former actress, but never got past the gate. The unnamed California local historian had apparently wanted the Duchess of Sussex to have a copy after she moved to the area with her royal husband in 2020. Fellow neighbour and local journalist Richard Mynards has claimed that the anecdote reveals how distant Meghan has become in the $14.7 million home she shares with Harry, Archie and Lilibet. She cultivates a very controlled image. She pays attention to every appearance, every word and every gesture. And here in Montecito, we appreciate simple people, even famous ones. Oprah Winfrey, for example, shows up at charity events. Meghan doesn't play the community game. And he says there was even this anecdote of an elderly neighbour who wanted to give her a documentary he had made on local history. The old man never got past the gate. But in contrast, Harry is considered the much warmer of the two. He claims he is always charming, approachable with that very recognisable Windsor accent. He smiles, shakes hands, willingly exchanges a few words. We've seen him at the beach, in an organic coffee shop, or cycling in the hills. He is less in control and more natural than his wife, Meghan. Harry has kept his good-natured side. We feel that he is more at ease here, even with his personal struggles. Meghan, on the other hand, is practically invisible. She's there, of course, but she shows herself very little. Her relationship with Montecito is distant, shall we say. What do you make of that?
Well, it doesn't surprise me, because Meghan's personality type her world actually stops where her nose begins. In that you and I, we look outwards. That's the natural and healthy thing. So your world actually begins where your nose ends. Her world is herself, her needs, her desires, her plots, her schemes, her plans, her ambitions. And then she comes alive enough to grab and to devour and to suck. It is the characteristic of a succubus. And people like that, they, to a large extent, exist within their own shell. And because they are basically empty within that shell, they are filling that shell with taking things from the outside. So Meghan would have no real need to interact with the community unless the community were going to be giving her something. If she wants something, she'll do it. But this is not a woman who functions with a heart or a soul or even a mind. This is a woman who functions with her psychological personality atavistic needs. And so I actually understand it. I mean, I've written a book on personality disorders, so I understand how she functions. And people like Meghan can't maintain the act long enough to actually be normal and be out there normally. And it's not of any interest to her to be a part of a community or to contribute to a community. She uses the word community to further her facade and the pretense that she's a humanitarian and a philanthropist. But it's not about human interaction. It's about Meghan opposing as something she's not, so that she will derive the benefit of the rewards of being known to be a philanthropist. But she's not interested in interacting on a normal, or I don't think she's capable of interacting on a normal basis with people. You know, the jocularity, the banter that comes about with ordinary interaction with people that you may only meet for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, but it adds to the richness of your life, and there's a spiritual enhancement and dimension to it. All of this eludes her because she's not capable of it.
Yeah, totally true. Absolutely fascinating. And of course, if you want first access to the Royal Uncancelled After Show, www.outspoken.live. Sign up there on Substack. And also make sure you subscribe to Lady Colin Campbell's brilliant channel on YouTube too. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.